Every night, an alien beauty visits my home and demands unbelievable thing. The nights were always quiet in Aaron's small house at the edge of town. He liked it that way. After a long day at work, he enjoyed the calm, the soft hum of his refrigerator, and the occasional creak of the wooden floors. Life was simple, orderly, and predictable. That's how he liked it. But everything changed. One night, a night that began like any other. Aaron had finished his dinner and was reading a book in his living room when he heard a faint knock on his door. It was soft, almost polite, barely audible. He frowned, wondering who it could be at this hour. His street was quiet, and he didn't expect anyone. Hesitant, he stood up and peeked through the peephole. Outside, he saw nothing but the dim glow of the street lamp. Shrugging, he returned to his chair, thinking it must have been a branch tapping against the door. Minutes passed. Just as he was about to turn the page, the knock came again, slightly louder this time. Aaron's heart beat a little faster. He approached the door slowly. Whoever it was, they were persistent. He opened it just a crack and was immediately taken aback. Standing there was a woman, unlike anyone he had ever seen. She was tall and elegant. Her skin had a soft, unusual glow, and her hair shimmered in the faint light as if it had a life of its own. Her eyes were large and bright, almost too perfect, and for a moment, Aaron couldn't look away. There was something different about her, something that made him feel both curious and uneasy. "Good evening," she said in a calm, clear voice. "May I come in?" Aaron blinked, unsure whether he had heard correctly. He shook his head slowly. I think you have the wrong house," he stammered. She smiled faintly, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes.
"No, I'm in the right place. I've been looking for you."
Aaron felt a chill run down his spine. He wanted to close the door, to tell her to leave, but something about her made him pause. She wasn't threatening, but there was an intensity in her gaze that made him uneasy. He swallowed hard. "I don't understand. Who are you?" "I am someone who needs your help," she said simply. "I can't explain everything now, but I will return every night until you listen." Before Aaron could reply, she turned and walked away. He watched her go, feeling a strange mix of relief and fear. When he closed the door, his hands trembled slightly. Something about the encounter felt unreal, like he had seen a ghost. The next morning, Aaron tried to dismiss the whole thing as a dream or his imagination. But when he checked his door and windows, there was a faint mark on the floor where she had stood, a mark that seemed impossible. He rubbed his eyes, convinced he was mistaken, but the mark remained. Days passed, and the visits continued. Every night, without fail, she appeared at exactly the same time. Sometimes she waited outside quietly. Other nights, she would tap on the windows or stand at the edge of the porch watching him. Aaron never saw her during the day. She was always gone when he looked outside in the morning. Each night, she spoke the same calm words, always asking for his help. But she never said exactly what she needed. The more Aaron tried to ignore her, the more intense her presence became. She seemed to know things about him, his fears, his regrets, even details he had never shared with anyone. Aaron began losing sleep. He would wake up in the middle of the night expecting to see her, and sometimes he did. His heart would race, and he would force himself to stay calm, telling himself it was impossible. Yet there she was, standing silently, watching him, her eyes full of meaning he couldn't understand. He tried talking to friends about it, but no one believed him. Some said he was imagining things, others joked that he must be stressed. Aaron stopped mentioning her. He didn't want to seem crazy. but deep down he felt a mix of fear and fascination. There was something about her presence that was not threatening, yet impossible to ignore. One night, Aaron decided to do something different. Instead of hiding, he stepped outside. The air was cool, and the street was empty. She was there, as usual, waiting.
He hesitated but finally spoke.
"Why are you here?" he asked. She smiled, a little softer this time. "I told you I need your help, but you are not ready to understand." Aaron frowned. "I don't even know who you are. How can I help someone I don't know?" Her eyes seemed to pierce right through him.
"You will not be you will.
But first, you must trust me. And that
Is the hardest thing. Aaron felt a strange pull, as if her words were reaching into a part of him he had kept hidden for years. He didn't understand why, but he wanted to trust her. At the same time, fear held him back.
He stepped inside quickly, shutting the door, but her gaze followed him, lingering long after she had left. The nights grew longer, and Aaron's mind became restless. He could not eat properly, and work became difficult. Every time he sat alone, he felt her presence, as if she were standing just behind his thoughts, waiting. He began noticing small, unusual things in his home. Objects slightly moved, lights flickering, faint sounds that had no explanation. It was not just fear that affected him, it was curiosity. He wanted to understand who she was, why she came, and what she wanted. He tried leaving the house early one morning to see if she would follow him. Nothing happened. She appeared only at night, always patient, always waiting. One night, Aaron decided to face her directly. He stepped onto the porch and called softly, "I'll listen."
Whoa.
Tell me what you want. For the first time, she paused.
Her eyes, glowing softly in the night, held something Aaron had never seen before: expectation, sadness, and a quiet strength.
You will know soon, she said.
"But you must promise to be ready. What I ask will change everything." Aaron's heart pounded. Change? What could she possibly want from him that could change everything? Yet he felt a deep sense of inevitability, like meeting her was something that had been meant to happen for a long time. After that night, he found it impossible to ignore her. The next knock at the door, the soft tap on the window, or the faint glow outside made his heart leap. He couldn't predict what would happen next, and that uncertainty both terrified and excited him. Aaron began to record the nights, hoping to capture evidence of her. Cameras, audio recorders, even simple notebooks. But every morning he reviewed the footage and found nothing unusual. No woman, no glow, no strange movements, just the quiet, empty porch. It was as if she existed only in the moments he truly saw her. Despite the mystery, Aaron started feeling a strange connection. He began anticipating her visits, thinking about what she might say, trying to prepare himself for the impossible task she hinted at. But no matter how much he wondered, no clear answer came. The first part of their story ended with a night Aaron would never forget. He woke up to find the door slightly open, though he was certain he had locked it. Standing in the doorway, as calm and glowing as ever, was the woman. She did not speak immediately. She simply looked at him, eyes searching his soul, waiting for him to understand that nothing would ever be the same again. Aaron stood frozen. The quiet hum of the house felt louder than ever, the shadows deeper. He realized, with a mixture of fear and awe, that the ordinary life he had cherished was gone. Something extraordinary had entered his world, and there was no turning back. And then, as he blinked, she vanished, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air, and a single, silent promise: she would return. The nights that followed were unlike anything Aaron had ever experienced. Sleep became a stranger, and even the simple routines he once enjoyed now felt impossible. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, his mind filled with anticipation and dread. He knew she would come. He could feel it deep in his chest, and she did. As always, at the same quiet hour, there was a faint tap at his window. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't prepared himself tonight. He wasn't sure he could. But curiosity, stronger than fear, made him stand and move toward the window. Peering through the curtains, he saw her. She was waiting, calm and glowing softly in the darkness. Her eyes met his, and for a brief moment, he felt a shiver of recognition, as if she had been standing there all his life, waiting for him to notice. Aaron opened the door, his hands trembling. "You're here again," he said quietly, trying to sound composed. "Why won't you leave me alone?" She didn't smile this time. Her expression was serious, almost sad. "I cannot leave," she said simply. "Not until you do what I ask." Aaron's brow furrowed. "What do you want from me?" "I've asked before, but you never tell me." Her eyes softened. "I will tell you tonight, but it will not be easy to hear." Aaron stepped back, unsure whether to invite her in. Something in the way she looked at him made him feel that she could see through the walls of his house, into his mind, into his very thoughts. Finally, he nodded. "Fine. Speak." She took a deep breath as if gathering strength and spoke with a calmness that made Aaron feel both curious and terrified.
"I need you to help me remember something."
"Something that only you can help me with. But it will require your courage and your trust." Aaron blinked. "Remember? I don't understand." "How can I help someone remember?" Her gaze was unwavering. "Because it is tied to you. And because the task I need from you is something impossible in the way you think, yet simple in the way it must be done." Aaron's mind raced. "Impossible? Simple? What does that even mean?" "You will see," she replied. "But first, you must promise me that you will not refuse, no matter how strange it feels."
Aaron hesitated.
He wanted to run, to slam the door and pretend this never happened. But something in her voice made him pause. Something about the tone, the way she looked at him with those glowing eyes, made him feel that saying no was not an option. "I promise," he whispered finally. She nodded, as if satisfied. "Good, then follow me." Aaron's heart raced as he stepped back and let her inside. Her presence filled the room, and he noticed again the faint shimmer around her, subtle and strange, like sunlight reflecting off water. She moved gracefully, almost silently, and sat down in the chair across from him. Aaron sat too, unsure what to do. He felt tense, ready for anything, though he didn't know what that anything might be.
"You will need to write something," she said suddenly, pulling a small notebook from the folds of her clothing. "And you must write honestly."
"Every word must come from the heart without fear or judgment." Aaron frowned. "Write? What? What should I write about?" "Your life," she said simply. "Not just what you show others, but the truths you hide from yourself. Your fears, your regrets, your choices, and even the secrets you have never spoken aloud." Aaron stared at her, confused. "You want me to pour my life onto paper?" "Yes," she replied calmly. "It is the first step. Impossible to some, but necessary. And once you do this, the next step will come." Aaron felt a shiver of disbelief. He had never thought of his life in this way. The idea of writing everything. His mistakes, his fears, his failures, was terrifying. Yet, strangely, he felt a pull to do it, as if she had opened a door in him that he didn't know existed. He picked up a pen, his hand shaking, and opened the notebook she had given him. At first, nothing came. The words felt awkward and forced, as if they didn't belong to him. But then, slowly, memories began to flow. He wrote about the nights he had felt alone, the moments he had hurt people he loved, the chances he had missed, and the choices he regretted. The woman watched quietly, saying nothing. Her eyes followed every movement of his hand, and every now and then she nodded slightly, as if encouraging him to continue.
Aaron didn't notice time passing.
Hours slipped by in a haze of memory and emotion. He wrote until his hand ached, until tears blurred his vision, and until he felt as though he had spilled the entirety of his soul onto the pages. When he finally looked up, the woman was still there, watching him. Her expression was softer now, almost relieved.
Good, she said. You have taken the first step.
But the task is not complete. You must take what you have written and act on it. Aaron's heart sank. Act on it?
How? I've just written it down.
What more do you want from me? Truth must be lived, not just recorded, she replied.
You can hide anymore.
You must face the parts of yourself you have avoided, even if it is uncomfortable, even if it is frightening.
Aaron swallowed hard. You mean
I have to change my life? Yes, she said softly, but not immediately. Step by step. And you will not be alone.
I will guide you, but only if you are willing to follow.
Aaron's mind raced. This was beyond anything he had imagined. He had expected a visitor, a strange woman, even strange demands, but not this. Not demands that forced him to confront himself so deeply. And yet, he felt something stir inside him, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. Hope, perhaps even the possibility of redemption.
you don't have to decide tonight, she said, reading his thoughts.
But I will return, and when I do, you must be ready. Well, the task grows harder each night you wait. Aaron nodded slowly. I
understand. I think I'm ready.
The woman smiled faintly. Good.
Then rest tonight. Tomorrow, the real work begins. And with that, she stood and left, vanishing into the darkness as silently as she had appeared. Aaron was left alone, clutching the notebook, feeling a strange mixture of fear, exhaustion, and anticipation. The following night, as expected, she returned. This time, her presence felt stronger, more insistent. Aaron was ready. He had prepared himself, thinking about the memories he had written, the truths he had faced, and the life he had avoided.
You are ready, she said, her voice calm but firm. Tonight you will begin the second step.
You will act on what you wrote. You will face the world with honesty, without hiding, without fear. Aaron nodded, feeling his heart pound. I will... Trying is not enough, she replied. You must do. Action completes the journey. For the next few hours, Aaron followed her instructions. He called old friends he had lost touch with. He apologized to people he had wronged. He admitted to himself and others the mistakes he had made. Every action felt strange at first, almost surreal. But with each word spoken, each truth revealed, he felt a weight lift from his chest. The woman watched him the entire time, never intervening, never judging. Her presence was calming, grounding, and somehow empowering. It was as if she existed to guide him through something he could not accomplish alone. By the end of the night, Aaron was exhausted but strangely at peace. The impossible task she had demanded, pouring his life onto paper and then acting on it, was something he had never imagined doing. Yet he had done it, and in doing so, he felt the first hint of change in himself. The woman smiled one last time before leaving. "You have begun well," she said. "But the journey is far from over. More will come." "Are you ready?" Aaron nodded, though he did not fully understand what awaited him. He only knew one thing. He could not go back to the way he had been. Not after what had happened, not after facing himself so completely. And as she disappeared into the night, leaving only the faint shimmer in the air, Aaron realized that his ordinary life had ended. Something extraordinary had begun, and the nights ahead promised challenges he could not yet imagine. But for the first time in years, he felt alive, and that, he realized, was worth every fear, every sleepless night, and every unbelievable demand she would make. The nights had changed Aaron's life, though he wasn't fully aware of it yet. Sleep was no longer a refuge, but a restless, fleeting state. During the day, he felt exhausted, yet an undeniable energy lingered in his chest, a pull towards something he could not name. Every evening, as the sun sank behind the horizon, his heart began to race in anticipation. He knew she would come, and he knew that whatever awaited him would test him further than he had ever been tested. That night, he waited by the window, watching for the familiar glow in the darkness. When it appeared, he felt the familiar shiver of awe and unease. She was there, standing silently at the edge of the porch, her posture calm but commanding. Her eyes shone with that same unearthly light, yet tonight there was something different, a quiet urgency, as if time itself pressed her to act. Aaron opened the door, his hand shaking slightly. I am ready tonight," he said, though he wasn't entirely sure what ready meant. She stepped inside without hesitation, moving with the same soft grace that had both terrified and fascinated him since the beginning. She held something in her hands this time, a small, folded piece of paper. She placed it gently on the table and looked at him. "This is the next step," she said softly. "You wrote your truths, and you acted on them. Now you must confront the shadows of your past, the parts you have hidden even from yourself."
The task tonight is personal. It will be difficult.
"But it is necessary." Aaron stared at the paper. "What is this?" he asked. "Your memories," she said. "The ones you have avoided, the ones that define who you are but that you have never faced fully."
Read 'em. Remember them.
"Feel them. Then tell me what you see." He hesitated. Memories were powerful. Some were painful. Some were embarrassing. Some he had long tried to bury. He wasn't sure he wanted to dig them out. But there was no fear of refusal in her gaze, only quiet insistence. Aaron unfolded the paper and saw words he had written days before. The confessions, regrets, and truths from his notebook. At first, he felt a sense of discomfort, as if confronting them now was more immediate and real than he had imagined. But as he read, something shifted inside him. The memories were no longer just words on a page. They were living, breathing, parts of his past. Each line forced him to remember feelings he had long ignored. The guilt of hurting a friend, the shame of lost opportunities, the sadness of moments he had failed to cherish. The woman watched silently. Her eyes reflected not judgment, but understanding. "See them clearly," she said. "Feel everything. Do not turn away. You cannot move forward without this." Aaron's hands shook as he read the lines aloud to her. Each word seemed to carry more weight, than the last. By the time he reached the end, tears were streaming down his face. For the first time, he allowed himself to feel the full depth of his regrets, his failures, and even the quiet joys he had ignored. When he finished, she spoke softly.
Now you understand why you avoided these truths. But avoidance changes nothing.
Acceptance is the first step toward transformation. And transformation,
Is what you need. Aaron wiped his eyes, trying to steady himself.
I understand, he whispered. But why me?
Why am I the one you came to? Her eyes softened, and for a moment, Aaron thought he saw something vulnerable in them.
Because you have avoided yourself for too long.
Because you have the courage to face what others cannot. Because the change I ask is not for me. It is for you.
And only you can do it.
The weight of her words settled heavily on him. It was one thing to face small actions, like apologizing to friends. It was another to confront the very essence of who he was, the person he had hidden from the world and from himself. But something in her presence made him feel capable, even if only slightly. He felt that if he could survive this night, he could survive almost anything. She handed him a second sheet of paper. This is not just for remembering, she said. It is for understanding. Write down what you feel as you remember, not just what happened.
Let your emotions guide you. Be honest.
Be brave. Aaron took the paper and pen with trembling hands. For hours, he wrote, pouring out his heart with more honesty than he had ever allowed himself. He wrote of his fears, his hopes, his moments of pride, and his times of failure. He wrote of the people he had loved and lost, the chances he had missed, and the dreams he had abandoned. With each word, he felt lighter, as if a burden he hadn't known he carried was slowly being lifted. The woman watched, saying nothing, but her presence seemed to guide him, steady him, and give him strength. He realized that her visits were not simply strange or supernatural. They were a mirror, a reflection of himself he could not see on his own. Finally, he looked up. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the night outside. I have written everything, he said, his voice hoarse. Is it enough? Enough for now, she replied.
But there is more. You must also face your fears outside this room.
The truths you confront here must be carried into the world. Only then will you truly change.
Aaron felt a flicker of doubt. Outside?
How? What if I fail? She reached out and touched his hand gently. Failure is not the end.
Avoidance is. You have already taken steps that most people never take.
The rest is courage and consistency. You can do this, Aaron, because you have begun the hardest part, facing yourself.
Her words stayed with him as he sat in silence, absorbing their weight. For the first time, he felt a strange combination of fear and determination. The woman's presence was no longer simply unsettling. It was a challenge, a guide, a push towards something he had long needed. The nights that followed were even more challenging. She instructed him to reconnect with people from his past, not just to apologize, but to be fully present, honest, and vulnerable. He visited old friends, spoke to family members he had avoided, and even reached out to those he had once wronged. At each encounter, he felt both anxiety and relief, the fear of judgment mixing with the power of honesty. Through these actions, he began to notice small changes. Conversations became deeper, more meaningful. People responded with understanding and forgiveness he hadn't expected. And though he was exhausted each night, he felt an unfamiliar sense of growth. The impossible task she had demanded, facing his deepest truths, was slowly reshaping him. One night, as they sat together in his living room, she spoke of something he had never considered. Do you understand now why I came? She asked, It was never about impossible tasks or strange demands. It was about showing you the strength you already had inside you. About awakening something you ignored for too long.
Aaron nodded, slowly.
He had begun to see the truth. Her visits, her demands, and even her strange glowing presence were not a threat. They were an invitation. An invitation to face himself fully, to live honestly, and to embrace change.
And yet, she continued softly, this is not the end.
You have begun, but the journey continues. More challenges await, and the truths you have avoided will test you further.
Are you ready for that? Aaron took a deep breath. The fear was still there, lingering, but it no longer controlled him.
I am, he said firmly. I will face it, whatever comes. The woman smiled faintly.
Good. Because the next step will require courage, patience, and trust like you have never known.
But I have faith in you. You have already proven that you can face what most cannot. As she vanished into the night, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air, Aaron sat quietly, holding the notebook close. He realized that his life had changed forever. The ordinary existence he had once cherished was gone, replaced by a path of growth, courage, and unexpected wisdom.
He was still uncertain about the nights ahead, still unsure of what her next demand would be, but he knew one thing: he was no longer afraid of facing himself.
And in that realization, he felt the first true sense of freedom he had experienced in years, a freedom born from honesty, courage, and the guidance of a mysterious visitor who had changed his life in ways he could not yet fully understand. The nights had grown longer, but Aaron no longer feared them. He had faced his past, his mistakes, and his deepest fears, and each step had made him stronger.
Yet a quiet unease remained.
He could feel it in the pause between his heartbeats, in the stillness of his empty rooms. Something awaited him, something he had yet to confront.
That night, as always, he waited. The glow appeared in the distance, soft and calm, like a faint light guiding him through the darkness.
She was standing at the edge of the porch, waiting as if she had never left. Aaron felt a mix of anticipation and determination. He had faced so much already. What more could she ask? When he opened the door, she stepped inside with the same graceful presence that had both terrified and inspired him. But tonight, she seemed different. There was a weight in her eyes, a quiet intensity that made Aaron sense that this night was unlike the others. You have done well, she said softly. You have faced your truths, confronted your fears, and acted with honesty. But there is one last step before your journey is complete.
Aaron's heart pounded.
One last step? What is it? She paused, looking at him with calm seriousness.
You must release something you have held on to for too long.
A secret, a regret, or a pain that you have carried alone. To move forward fully, you must let it go.
Aaron frowned. Let it go? How? By facing it completely, she replied. By acknowledging it, by understanding it, and by letting it no longer control you.
Only then will you be free. Aaron took a deep breath. He thought of the memories he had written, the truths he had confessed, and the actions he had taken. There was one memory, one regret he had always avoided. A moment from years ago, when he had hurt someone he loved and never had the courage to apologize. He had buried it deep in his mind, hoping it would fade with time. But it had never faded. I know what I must release, he said quietly.
But I don't know if I can do it.
She placed a hand gently on his shoulder.
You can.
You already have the strength inside you. All you need is to act. Aaron closed his eyes and let the memory come fully into his mind. He saw the person he had wronged, the pain in their eyes, and the silence that had followed. The shame and guilt rose in him, but he did not turn away. He acknowledged it fully, felt it completely, and then, slowly, he spoke aloud. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I am sorry for the pain I caused."
I am sorry for the mistakes I made. I cannot change the past, but I can learn from it.
"I will carry it with honesty, not shame." The room was quiet. For a moment, he felt nothing, as if the air itself had paused to listen. Then, a soft shimmer appeared around the woman, brighter than ever before. She smiled, a smile full of warmth and understanding. "Good," she said. "You have released it. You are no longer bound by what you once carried alone. You have faced yourself fully." Aaron opened his eyes, feeling lighter than he had in years. The weight of guilt and fear that had pressed on him for so long was gone.
He felt a quiet peace, an inner strength he had never known.
She stepped back, her figure glowing softly. "Your journeys. You have learned honesty, courage, and trust. You have changed, not because I demanded it, but because you chose it. Remember this? Transformation comes from within, and you have proven that you are capable of it." Aaron nodded, feeling a mixture of gratitude and awe.
"Thank you," he said, his voice trembling. "I don't know who you really are, but thank you for guiding me." The woman's expression softened. "I am not here to take credit. I am here to remind you of what you already possessed.
You had the power all along. I merely showed you the path." For a long moment they stood in silence. The room felt different now, lighter, warmer, as if the shadows that had once lingered had finally been chased away. Aaron realized that the nights of fear, confusion, and uncertainty had led him to a place of clarity he had never imagined. "Will you come back?" he asked quietly. She shook her head gently. "My visits are no longer needed."
You have learned what you needed to learn. The path ahead is yours to walk alone.
"But remember this. I will always be with you in spirit, as long as you continue to face life with honesty and courage." Aaron watched as she stepped toward the door. She paused one last time, her eyes shining softly. "Farewell, Aaron. Live fully. Fear nothing, and remember the strength you found in yourself." And then she was gone. Aaron stood there for a long time, staring at the empty doorway. The quiet of the night no longer felt heavy or ominous. Instead, it felt full of possibility. He felt a calm energy flowing through him, a sense of freedom that he had never known. The ordinary life he had once taken for granted had ended, replaced by something deeper, richer, and more meaningful. The next morning, Aaron noticed subtle changes in the world around him. He noticed the warmth of sunlight on his skin, the sound of birds singing, and the quiet beauty of his surroundings. He felt more connected, more present, and more alive than ever before. Even simple tasks felt significant, filled with intention and awareness. In the days that followed, he continued the actions he had begun during her visits. He nurtured relationships, spoke honestly, and acted with courage in situations he had once avoided. People responded to him with kindness and understanding. He noticed that trust, once lost or broken, could be rebuilt with sincerity and effort. And yet, despite the clarity and peace he felt, a small part of him always remembered her, the mysterious visitor who had appeared every night, glowing softly, guiding him to face himself. He did not know where she had come from, whether she was human or something else entirely, but he did not need to know. The lessons she had taught him were real, tangible, and lasting. Sometimes, late at night, he thought he saw a faint shimmer outside his window, a glow that reminded him of her presence. But when he looked closely, there was nothing. Just the quiet night, the trees swaying in the wind, and the faint sound of life continuing. He smiled quietly to himself, understanding that some mysteries do not need answers. Some visitors come not to be understood, but to guide, to teach, and to awaken the strength within. Aaron's life had changed forever. He no longer feared the night, uncertainty, or challenges. He had discovered courage, honesty, and the power to face himself fully. The impossible tasks, the strange visits, and the demands he had once thought unbearable had transformed him in ways he could never have imagined. And in that transformation, he found freedom. Freedom from fear, from regret, from avoidance. Freedom to live fully, to embrace the world with open eyes, and to trust in his own strength. Though the woman never returned, Aaron carried her lessons with him every day. He lived with purpose, faced challenges with courage, and nurtured relationships with honesty and care. He no longer waited for someone else to guide him. He had become his own guide, his own source of strength, and his own source of wisdom. And sometimes, when the night was quiet and the wind whispered through the trees, he would feel a faint shimmer in the air, a reminder that extraordinary encounters, even brief ones, can change a life forever. Aaron smiled, feeling the depth of his journey. The nights of fear, uncertainty, and strange demands had led him to a life of clarity, courage, and meaning. And though the mystery of the visitor remained, he no longer needed answers. The true gift had always been the strength he found within himself. For the first time in years, Aaron felt complete.